What does it mean to believe in one God? Have we gotten so familiar with these words that we've forgotten just how radical a commitment this is? Well, my brothers and sisters, it's great to see you in this fourth session of Creed 40. And as we continue, we're focusing on the words in one God, that we believe in one God. We need to recognize that this statement in the Creed is much older than the Apostles' Creed, is much older than the Nicene Creed. In fact, it goes way back to the first pages of Genesis in the Old Testament, at the start of human history, the start of the prophetic ministry that God inspired for us. In fact, in ancient Israel, they had a prayer that they would say, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone." And in fact, we hear in Deuteronomy 6:4-5 this very statement followed by, "Therefore, you shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart and your whole being and your whole strength." Of course, Deuteronomy 6, verses 4-5. And this sounds very familiar because this is Jesus' commandment to us. You shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart, your mind, your strength, with everything. But notice, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord alone." Hear, O Israel, the chosen people, those who are dignified to wrestle with God. Remember, the word Israel means to wrestle in Hebrew. The Lord is our God, the Lord alone. But we need to make sure that when we say God in Hebrew, it's very interesting because the word for God in Hebrew is Elohim. Elohim is actually plural. El means God, one God, singular. Elohim means a plurality of gods. And here we see the foundation of the doctrine of the Trinity, which we'll talk much more in our Creed series. But that God is a community of persons, if you will, plural. They didn't believe in many gods, but it was still one God, Elohim, in the plural. The Hebrew belief can really be summarized, though, that we have one God who desires for us to be exclusive to Him, that we have loving devotion to Him who loves us so much, that we are individual members of His chosen people. And this really implies for us that God is engaged in human history, but also in our individual lives. Let me stop. He's part of human history. He's not just someone who stands at a distance and watches, someone who's gone on a vacation and is gone. He's in human history. He directs us as a people, but also our own individual lives as well. For us, though, we need to realize that this teaching, thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, was extremely novel because most religions back then had many gods. And they would make sacrifice to individual deities in individual ways. Some religions would come to a monotheism instead of polytheism, where they believed in one supreme God and creator, but this was very rare and very novel. And even then, you had other minor gods with that. But here you have the Israelites' one true God, Elohim, Yahweh. Here's the thing, though. When you look at the pagan religions that have many gods, they really can be summed up in three different groups in polytheism, if you will, many gods. That is a worship of bread, a worship of love, and an idolization of power. So worship of bread, worship of love, and basically worship of power. First off, worship of bread. This would include religions that do harvest festivals or that worship elements in the sky or planting cycles, worship of money, just worship of all these material things, that gods are in the material things or something like that. Worship of love. These are ones who worship sex and adultery and perversion and passion. And so all the deities inspiring these emotions, these passions within us, and their ritualistic actions would be quite perverse. And then you have the idolization of power, which is really the human sacrifice, looking to deities to give us more power both in this life and the next. Foundation of witchcraft, I do these things, I get these things type of mentality. But worship of bread, worship of love, and the idolization of power. But here's where Israel's profession is really a renunciation and a declaration of war against these things. Worship of bread, worship of love, idolization of power only leads to enslavement, only leads to me being indebted to these deities and selling my soul to them in a radical way. This is exactly what the devil wants. Realize polytheism is demonic. But Israel's profession is a declaration of war against that, to see that we are true sons and daughters of the one true God. For ancient Israel, their God was not just some local God among other gods. Their God just wasn't bigger, badder than other gods. Their God was the only one true God, and Israel was going to be a light to all the nations to come know the one true God. My brothers and sisters, all this continues to this day. But just as a little review back to the Old Testament, we see for the Israelites, they believed in a personal and person-centered God. That God is personal to us, and we can have a personal relationship with Him, both individually and in community. That God is the highest of all, the greatest power, stands above all else, that God is otherly. God isn't some superhuman. He is otherly to us. And that God is a God of promise. That time doesn't repeat. It isn't a cycle. We don't believe in reincarnation or something crazy like that. But time marches on, and God is directing that time. God is leading us to prepare us for future things. And that God gives us hope for that future. And the direction of time is irreversible. It marches forward. Now, coming to the New Testament, my brothers and sisters, we see that God is our Father. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. In St. John chapter 17, verse 26, the Gospel of John, we hear Jesus saying, I made known to them your name, and I will make it known, that the love with which you have loved me may be in them, and I in them. Of course, the ministry of Jesus was that we may come to know the one true God, that Jesus is the Son of God, but that we may come to know God, that we may have this personal relationship with Him, that we may know His love, and that we may also love Him. Thus, my brothers and sisters, to say that we believe in one God is a radical commitment that leads to freedom, not to slavery. But it is setting aside all other gods. It is setting aside the power of bread and stuff, the power of love and lust, the idolization of power. It is setting aside these things in service to the one true God. It is recognizing that God is personal to us, but also to us as a community, individual and community, and recognizing that God is the only game in town. My brothers and sisters, when we profess one God, we are also declaring war against so many of the false religions of our day, whether it be things from the Near East, things of Eastern mysticism, or yoga, or Hinduism. It is rejecting this notion that, oh, we just all worship the same God, we're all good people. No, we don't all worship the same God. That is heresy. But also, my brothers and sisters, recognizing that we put our faith in one God. We are not looking for a backup plan, if you will. And we seek to come to understand the marching of human history and to have great hope for that future. My brothers and sisters, our next session will talk about God as being the Father Almighty. And these are all very much essentially linked. But as we continue throughout this day, let's really focus on God as one God and our radical commitment to Him and His radical commitment to us in love. I sure hope that we will see you again. Please like and subscribe. Please write a comment. I'll be happy to respond. And please share this with your friends that we can all journey through these 40 days, these Creed 40, coming to know the fundamentals of our faith more and more. God bless you, my brothers and sisters, and we'll see you in the next session. Take care.